Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Democracy Report. Today is Friday, April 25th, 2025, and because it's Friday, it is the weekly wrap up show. So, before we get started, if you do like this content, please like and subscribe. You can support the show at buymeacoffee.com/, the Daily Democracy Report, or you can scan the QR code at the lower left of your screen. With all that out of the way, on today's show, I want to talk about the war in Ukraine. Let's talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about all these topics here. The China trade talks, Trump polling, interesting one. A few words from Al Gore, a speech from AOC, and probably a little bit of satire at the end of the show. So anyway, hopefully this will take you into the weekend and make you a little bit more aware and allow you to decompress for the rest of the weekend. Anyway, our first clip here is from CNN, and we're talking about here what concessions during this Ukraine war and these peace talks and stuff. We talked about this a lot on yesterday's show. I actually got very irate probably on yesterday's show, but I wanted to just kind of discuss what is Russia's concessions here for peace in Ukraine. So here we go. Here's Aaron Burnett from CNN.
Today claiming Putin could offer a major concession toward a peace deal with Ukraine. Literally, that he says that this concession would be Putin not taking all of Ukraine.
Taking the whole country. Pretty big concession.
There you go. I know, I told you, that's a really short clip, but that's the concession, basically, that Russia would have to give up, is taking all of Ukraine. So I guess everybody's supposed to be thankful for that. But as we discussed yesterday, you go back and listen to yesterday's show on Thursday, the 24th. That one, I mean, I kind of went and railed a lot there. But yeah, Russia's really not giving up anything. So there you have it. That was all I really want to talk about on the Ukraine war today. I think we covered enough of it, like I said yesterday. But let's talk about China and the trade war with China. Apparently, there's a lot of back and forth here between China and President Trump about, I'll just say Donald Trump. I don't even want to call him President Trump because that's beneath. Whatever. Here's Jake Tapper. Let's talk about this.
China insinuating today that President Trump is lying. Just this moment, a spokesperson for China's foreign ministry saying that as far as he knows, China and the United States have not held any consultations or meetings or negotiations on tariffs. And the idea that China and the U.S. have been engaged in talks, which President Trump has been asserting, is, quote, fake news. But President Trump repeated his claim. Here's what he said when asked about it this morning.
Clarify with whom the U.S. is speaking with China. They're saying it's fake news that trade talks are happening.
Well, they had a meeting this morning, so I can't tell you. It doesn't matter who they is.
Who is
we may
they?
reveal it later, but they had meetings this morning, and
we may reveal it later.
Meeting with China, and so I think you have, Jeff, as usual. I think you have your reporting wrong.
We should note that the communist Chinese government has a long history of lying. Although, anyway, while the
So what Jake was meaning there was, Trump doesn't ever tell the truth either. So you got China and their propaganda, Trump and his propaganda. Who the hell knows who's talking to who, if anybody's talking to anybody. Everybody's saying, China's saying, we're not talking to him. Trump is saying, we are talking to him. Whatever. Who knows? Anyway, the good thing is that the stock market is doing a lot better. Seems to be stabilizing a bit, and all of this went up a little bit, kind of, doing its thing, so it's not crashing anymore. Everybody's 401ks are starting to look a little bit better. So hopefully Trump is ratcheting down this crap and finally seeing that this is not good for him, and it's not a good look for his presidency. And so that let's see, that brings me to the next clip, actually. So that was a good segue. We're going to talk about Trump's polling next, and this was really interesting. This is from The Beat with Ari Melber. I think I got that right. Anyway, I'm from MSNBC, and yeah, let's talk about some of Trump's approval rating here.
To those, I just want to show you up top here how this Trump polling slump, which is also reflected.
Okay, and this is from Fox News. Okay, so this is very pro-Trump, and so you'd expect that this would look really freaking rosy for Trump.
In a new Fox poll where you see the majority disapprove, according to Fox News' pollster, on basically every issue. You can see that. Border security is the only one where a majority actually approves. Wide disapproval on Fox. That's their poll. Makes it harder for them to ignore it. And here's how that played across that usually MAGA-friendly channel.
The polls, they're not extraordinary.
Job approval compared to other presidents. There you see the president at 44%, and you see his first term at 45%.
It's actually behind where Joe Biden was.
I don't think the stock market and today's polls are the best measurement.
When it comes to the economy, this is where it's a little trickier, and this is where his numbers have gone south.
But only 28% say the economy is excellent or good.
He is underwater when it comes to the economy, tariffs, and inflation.
Yeah. So there was a clip there. If I go back, let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, here. So if you look at this one here, the majority disapprove, majority approve of border security, but they disapprove of immigration. So that just tells you, I think people are thinking that he has the right idea on securing the border, like with maybe military and things like that. But as far as the immigration and deporting all these people who have no due process and are just getting shuffled out of the country, that's the part that people are not happy with and are not okay with. So if you look at that list, I mean, overall performance, immigration, guns, foreign policy, economy, taxes, tariffs, inflation, the bottom four there, economy, taxes, tariffs, inflation, are pretty much what got him in office. Those were the big ones, the big hitters there. And he is failing on all of those. So big stuff. If he's not polling well, especially with Fox News and other polls, that really, it hurts his agenda, really, because who's gonna back this guy if the American people say he's failing? So something to watch out for. We'll keep an eye on it and see what happens. But so far, he's the worst president in the first 100 days of approval, only seconded by himself in the first term. So pretty bad numbers. So let's move on. Next clip here is Al Gore, and I found this clip. I thought it was interesting because there was a big thing with Larry David, who was kind of comparing. I forget the guy who sat down, who went and had dinner with Trump or whatever. Anyway, kind of made fun of him a little bit and saying that, you're sitting and having dinner with Hitler, which was probably not really the right thing to say. But I wanted to show this clip because this is Al Gore making comparisons between Trump and Nazi Germany. So this is different than comparing Trump to Adolf Hitler, because I don't think there's anybody as evil in the history of the world as Adolf Hitler and the atrocities that he did. I don't foresee, anyway, that Trump would do anything like that. But we're just talking about the political side, comparing Trump to Nazi Germany. So I think it's worth taking a listen to. So we're going to play the rest of the clip, about a minute and a half or so for the rest of this clip, but I think it's important to hear what he has to say.
I understand very well why it is wrong to compare Adolf Hitler's Third Reich to any other movement. It was uniquely evil, full stop. I get it. But there are important lessons from the history of that emergent evil, and here is one that I regard as essential. In the immediate aftermath of World War II, a small group of philosophers who had escaped Hitler's murderous regime returned to Germany and performed a kind of moral autopsy on the Third Reich. The most famous of the so-called Frankfurt School of philosophers was a man named Jürgen Habermas, best known, I would say, but it was Habermas's mentor, Theodor Adorno, who wrote that the first step in that nation's descent into hell was, and I quote, the conversion of all questions of truth into questions of power. He described how the Nazis, and I quote again, attacked the very heart of the distinction between true and false, end quote. The Trump administration is insisting on trying to create their own preferred version of reality. They say Ukraine attacked Russia instead of the other way around, and expect us to believe it. At home, they attack heroes who have defended our nation in war and against cyber attacks as traitors.
All right, so yeah, lots to take away from that, I think. You can see Trump, how he's putting the doubt in people all the time. And he's saying, you know, in the first term, everything was fake news. And he's continuing that rhetoric and has continued the rhetoric when he was outside of the office. When he's in office, he's saying our elections are all rigged. You can't trust that. You can't trust the press. Trying to make inroads into our colleges and universities to be able to dictate what they teach, how they teach, and who teaches it. These are all precursors to Nazi Germany and being able to control the narrative and control what people ingest and what they think and how they feel and what's true and what's not true, and you get the picture. So I think it was important to show. I think it's important for everybody to try to make that distinction, and hopefully we don't fall into that. I think everybody can learn from history. We can't take history out of the classroom. We cannot take history out of the history books. We need that. We need to learn from it, and we need to study it so we make sure it doesn't get repeated. I think it's extremely important. Okay, next clip. This is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She is on the Fight Oligarchy tour. This was in Idaho, which is really interesting because Idaho isn't normally a state you'd see a couple Democrats and, well, independent with Bernie Sanders. But this is something that you wouldn't normally see going to Idaho, especially they're in Nampa, Idaho. Idaho is a state that Trump won by over 2/3 of the vote. So it's extremely... this is kind of Republican MAGA territory here. And it's kind of a cool, I guess, gutsy to go. But she's discussing how Republicans in Congress are not really in tune to serve working Americans and working families and providing the things that working families need. So let's take a listen to what she has to say.
I saw Mike Johnson on the television saying we got to stop all these able-bodied men from being on Medicaid.
We have to eliminate people on, for example, on Medicaid who are not actually eligible to be there.
Only 2% of people on Medicaid are able-bodied and looking for a job. Only 2%.
Able-bodied workers, for example, young men who should never be on the program at all.
First of all, like it's a crime for someone to have health care in America. Healthcare is a human right in America, and everyone should have it. Everyone should see a doctor. We must end the indignity of not being able to afford medicine, a doctor's appointment, being able to take care of one another. You know who from Idaho voted to gut Medicaid for everybody, by the way? Both of your senators, Jim Risch and Mike Crapo. And your House members, Russ Fulcher and Mike Simpson. You deserve better, Idaho. They know that that's not what you want. They know it is deeply unpopular. They know that it hurts the working families of Idaho, but they are not here to serve working families. They are here to serve themselves and the billionaires who pay them. And they know that the only chance they have to get away with such an unpopular and hurtful agenda is to stoke deep divisions along race, identity, and culture to keep us fighting and distracted. It's not gonna work anymore.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Gutsy, I think, in that state. I think it's awesome that she calls out the senators and representatives of that state that are like blocking this kind of stuff. The distraction that she talks about is absolutely true. And yeah, blocking access. Like, I believe in my heart that everybody should have access to a doctor, to the medicines they need, to being able to go to a doctor's appointment without worrying about how you're going to make your house payment or how you're going to make your car payment or how you're going to get to work. It's just, I think it's a right that everybody should have. And, that may not be the most popular remark in the world, but I don't see any other way of how people can live, really. So, okay, so that's kind of the gist of what I wanted to cover for today. I do have one more thing I wanted to show, and this is more, just remember when you watch it, this is from The Onion, and I haven't seen anything from them in a really long time, and I was just kind of browsing around and getting down the YouTube rabbit hole, and I came across this, and came out, I believe, like 2 days ago. And it's satire, so it's not real. And it's entitled "Trump Announces SEAL Team 6 Killed U.S. Protester in Daring Overnight Raid." And I think it's really interesting in the sense that while you're watching it, you can draw the parallels to kind of what is happening and what has happened in the past, right? A lot of this setup and stuff is looking like the raid on Bin Laden, right? Some of it is kind of targeting what protesting for Palestinian, people. Not necessarily that you're against Israel or that you're against Jews, but that you're trying to help Palestinians who have been, injured and hurt and killed during the whole conflict in Israel, and Gaza. So while you're watching it, try to see what's happening in the news and make those parallels to the satirical piece that they did, which I think is pretty brilliant and a little bit humorous at the same time. So let's play this. Oh, by the way, the production quality on this, gosh, I wish I could do this, but so good. So very good.
Breaking news out of Washington, where we have just received word that SEAL Team 6 has carried out a daring overnight operation, successfully killing a student protester. White House sources are confirming that 19-year-old college sophomore Evan...
Okay, sorry, but while this is going, look at the ticker at the bottom, the top news thing. Vatican coroner confirms Eucharist overdose. Take a look at those, because some of those are really funny.
Dixon was indeed executed last night by an elite team of special forces after his location was revealed to be deep within the walls of this University of Pennsylvania dormitory. Senior political analyst Jason Copeland has been in close personal contact with the White House and joins us now with the latest.
Thanks, Dwight. Yeah, we're standing by as moments from now, President Trump is expected to address the nation and confirm the success of Operation Sitting Eagle. It was late last night that President Trump reportedly authorized the raid, which sent 25 highly trained military personnel into UPenn airspace, commanding them to, quote, show no mercy.
President Trump, of course, has said several times he would make it his personal mission to find and kill Dixon after he claimed responsibility for a student-led sit-in last semester. Jason, what do we know so far about the actual details of the raid?
Yeah, it was a high-risk operation that was almost over before it started. We're hearing reports that one of the 2 Black Hawk helicopters used in this mission actually suffered mechanical failure upon campus entry and crashed into Quaker Kitchen Dining Hall, where soldiers did encounter some resistance from several freshmen and at least one 19-year-old RA.
One 19-year-old RA. Elon Musk announces he has cut 40 billion workers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Right. Now, from there, the remaining SEAL team members stormed the quad before breaching Stouffer College House, where inside their thermal cameras picked up a shirtless, groggy Dixon surrounded by dirty laundry, textbooks. And it was then that President Trump himself made that difficult, harrowing call to open fire, subsequently taking out the dangerous English major in his clandestine dormitory bunker.
As you can see, hundreds of Americans are now gathering around the country to celebrate and to thank President Trump for finally putting an end to this national nightmare. Jason.
Look at this top news one. Andrew Cuomo announces he will be mayor for all New Yorkers, including broads. Unreal. Just brilliant stuff.
And what happens to this group of student protesters now?
Yeah, well, only time will tell, Dwight, but despite today's successful operation, the university system in the region still remains extremely unstable, still believed to harbor some enclaves of free speech. So I wouldn't rule out a full-scale ground invasion of all college campuses in the near future.
All right. Thank you, Jason. With many questions yet to be answered, ONN can confirm that President Trump has explicitly ordered the body of Evan Dixon to be dumped in the Delaware River so no grave could serve as a site of pilgrimage for other politically engaged citizens. Coming up next, more on the latest executive order that has many asking, should trans people be allowed to watch women's sports?
Great stuff. I mean, just brilliant on so many levels. So anybody go out there, subscribe to The Onion. Some really great stuff out there. And I just wanted to end with that because it's all satire. Obviously, it's not real, but try to draw those parallels there, and it's really not that far-fetched when you think about it sometimes. But anyway, I thought I'd leave with that for the weekend, and maybe gave you a little bit of a chuckle. So anyway, thanks again for watching all week and today. Really do appreciate it. Please like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content. And like I said, have a great weekend. We will be back here next week on Monday at noon Eastern time for some more of the Daily Democracy Report. Thanks again. Take care. Be good to each other. Have a great weekend. And we will see you all on Monday. Bye-bye.